All right, let's talk about a word we all think we know, discrimination. But what does it really mean deep down? Forget the easy definitions for a second. We're about to peel back the layers on this thing to really understand the hidden machinery behind it all. Let's dive in. So, if you go way back to its Latin roots, the word discrimination literally just meant to tell things apart, to make a distinction. A pretty neutral act, right? So the big question is, how did we get from that simple idea of sorting things to one of the most charged, most complicated words we have today? Of course not. And that's what this is all about. We're going to move from those really obvious in-your-face moments of prejudice down to the invisible, almost hidden structures that shape our entire world. You're about to see how a simple act of distinguishing can change everything for a person. Okay, let's start at the top. Layer 1. This is the stuff that's easy to see, the stuff that's right there on the surface. We're talking about direct discrimination, the tip of the iceberg. So what is direct discrimination? Well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's when someone is treated worse, straight up, because of who they are. Maybe it's their age, their gender, their origin. The bias isn't hidden. It's right there for everyone to see. And here's a classic textbook example for you. A job ad that says, point blank, applicants must be under 30. I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than that. Age is being used as a hard barrier, and it's unfairly shutting out a whole bunch of people. But as you know, it's usually not this obvious. Which brings us to our next layer. It's time to go a little deeper, beneath the surface. What happens when the discrimination isn't written out in the open? What if you have a rule that looks totally fair, but in reality, it's anything but? And this is where things start to get really tricky. See, with direct discrimination, it's all about intent. It's obvious. But indirect discrimination is sneaky. The rule itself seems totally neutral, but the impact is what matters. The discrimination is hidden in the final result. Check out this example. A gardening company requires that all applicants have German as a mother tongue. Now, on the one hand, you could say, well, it's a language requirement, but the job itself only needs basic communication. So what's really going on? This rule, while it seems neutral, ends up disproportionately disqualifying immigrants. The effect is discriminatory, even if the rule never mentions anything about ethnicity. Okay, now we're going to the deepest level. What if discrimination isn't just about one person's actions or a single unfair rule? What if it's actually built into the very systems we live in? This is where we get into the invisible forces that are all around us. This is what we call structural discrimination. And it's not about a few bad apples or one company with a bad policy. It's about how the whole system, over a long, long time, has been set up in a way that just naturally favors one group over others. And here's the wild part. It can keep going even if nobody involved is consciously trying to be discriminatory. The philosopher Iris Marion Young actually gave us a fantastic framework for this. She called it the 5 faces of oppression, and it shows us all the different ways this structural stuff can show up. It can be economic, like exploitation, or it can be something like cultural imperialism, where one group's way of doing things is just treated as the normal way for everyone. And, of course, people are complicated, right? No one fits into just one little box. Our identities have all these different layers. And that brings us to an absolutely essential concept called intersectionality. Just think about all the different parts that make up a person. You've got their ethnic background, their gender, their age, whether they have a disability, their social standing. The list goes on. None of these things exist on their own. And when those identities overlap, they can create a completely new, unique kind of experience. For instance, think about young men who are perceived as migrants being denied entry into a club. It's not just about their perceived ethnicity, and it's not just about their age or their gender. It's the unique mix of all three that creates this very specific barrier. Their experience is totally different from, say, an older woman of the same ethnicity. That's how these layers compound each other. So we've looked at the problem from all these different angles. It's complex, it's deep. Now for the big question, what can be done about it? How do we start to push back against these layers and try to create a more fair world? One of the key ideas is inclusion. And this is way more than just letting people in. It's about proactively redesigning our world, our schools, our workplaces, so that everyone can actually participate fully. It's about building the wheelchair ramps, creating the accessible websites, and making sure everyone has a seat at the table. Then you have a more direct and, yeah, often more controversial approach, affirmative action. These are basically policies designed to actively correct for the effects of past and present discrimination. The goal is to try and level a playing field that's been tilted for a very long time. There's this incredible quote from Anatole France, all the way back in 1894, that just cuts right to the heart of this whole thing. It says, "The law, in its majestic equality, forbids the rich, as well as the poor, to sleep under bridges, to beg in the streets, and to steal bread." I mean, wow. It really forces you to ask, is it truly fair to treat two completely unequal situations in the exact same way? So there you have it. We've peeled back the layers of discrimination, from the obvious stuff on top to the invisible structures underneath. But really, the goal here isn't just about learning some terms. It's about giving you a new lens to see the world. So the real question is, now that you can see these layers, where do you spot them in the world around you? That's where the real work begins.